Hello, everybody. Well, it looks like it's going to be a small class today. Everybody hear me okay? Well, we'll wait another minute or two. Hi, Cornelia.
Hi, Venerable Sumati.
How are the kids?
Fine, thank you. How are
How
you?
about you? I'm doing okay. A little tired, but
Me too.
Claire, were you able to open that the updated spreadsheet that I sent?
Oh, I didn't start to work on it yet.
Okay, well, see if you can open it. One of the translators hasn't been able to open it.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll just get started. Well, one more person's shown up. There they come.
Mandala, yeah?
Yeah, well, just in a minute.
I could, but then.
Oh, Mike usually does it, but
Yeah,
he's
okay.
not here. Well, we'll go ahead and start. Okay. So make the mudra for the mandala, please.
Okay.
Here is the great earth, filled with the smell of incense, covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, the four continents, wearing a jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of the Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratnam Mandalakam Niryataya Me. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, I will reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. Okay, let's see. Let's start with Claire. Rejoicing. What do you have to rejoice in?
Yeah, I'd like to rejoice that like yesterday I translated the class about or the first class of Lamrim, and it is big honor for me, and I'm very happy that we started this course. And also I would like to rejoice in my karma attitude towards my colleagues, as even one colleague approached me and told me I should be karma despite what other person is behaving. So, and after this support, I feel calmer myself, not repeating some scenarios in my mind. So and yeah, I'd like to dedicate the seeds to peace of mind.
Good, good. Well, that's what we're trying to do. Okay, Katerina, what do you have to read? Who's that person there with you? You have to
This is my
unmute
daughter.
your daughter. What's her name?
I rejoice that before class we have cool dancing. uh, and I rejoice that I hear that class, the first Lamrim, in Russian, in my language, because I started to 30 Lamrim 33, 37, I don't remember. And now I can hear from the start. Thank you.
Good. Well, I'm glad. I think that makes it much easier to learn. Okay, Daria.
I'm rejoiced. I notice my irritation and frustration, and I try to stop. And I'm happy I tried. But sometimes, for example, today it's very difficult. Stop. Yeah, yes. Oh no, stop. It's I did sometimes. But my mind goes, no, it's these people, and you and you.
Yeah, well, that's what we're working on. It's catching ourselves to realize it's not them, it's me, it's me, it's me. But just keep trying. When you find it's the most frustrating, that's when it's the strongest. So when you want to give up, don't. Hang in there. And know you're setting the seeds now for a more pleasant future. I think that's very critical. Okay, Cornelia.
So I rejoiced that I went to the playground with the children, even thought I was exhausted from work. I was tired. And so I have planned time, fun, and joy.
Good, good. I'm sure the kids enjoyed that. Okay, Layla.
Could we come back to me in a minute?
Sure.
Thank
Come
you.
back. We can go back
Thank
to
you so much.
Okay. Well, I guess that leaves me. Or no, well, let's have Anna. Anna, do you have something you can rejoice in? No?
You're on the main channel. You can talk.
About my rejoicing, I did some tasks at my main job, and I rejoice it. Also, I help in some technical way for ICI classes, and that's also a point for rejoice. What else? Today I also had a small walk around around the city, and it was not very pleasant because it was rainy all day. But I rejoice it in any way because I like to go for a walk, look for people, and take care about birds. I feed them. So I rejoice about my day.
Oh, good, good. So that leaves me and Layla. But I'll go next, Layla. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
let's see. Well, I rejoice. Layla sent me some of her music. I rejoice listening to it. It's different music than I normally listen to, but it's very nice to have such talented students in my life. and I will listen to it more and see if I can't figure out what you're trying to say. But what about today for me? Oh, so I'm transcribing a lot of Geshe-la's teachings in preparation for the Lamrim teachings. And yesterday I could not get access to one of the programs I needed. And I couldn't, and I couldn't, and I couldn't, and I wasn't getting frustrated, but I was seeing that I was coming up against the same problem, thinking I'd solved it, but I hadn't. So this morning I started again. Sometimes when you have this problem, you're trying to get your password changed. If you try too many times, they lock it because they think you're a hacker. So I figured they locked it yesterday, so I waited till this morning and tried again. And it turns out the company I wanted to talk to spelled their company N-O-T-T-A. And the company I was talking to yesterday and this morning was N-O-O-T-A. Both are transcription services, but they're very similar names. So the lady this morning very politely said, you're trying to get a hold of N-O-T-T-A, not our company, N-O-O-T-A. So I felt pretty stupid, but I didn't get mad. I wasn't mad at them. I wasn't mad at me. I was just trying to solve the problem. So I rejoice in that. That's a pretty big step for me. So that's, what else am I rejoicing in? Oh, I rejoice in the fact that I made a pretty darn good soup last night for dinner. Roasted cauliflower with coconut milk, grind that all up, put in some curry, some diced green chilies, some mushrooms, and some quinoa. Oh man, that was pretty good. Pretty good. And my wife liked it, which is the important thing. Okay, Layla, you're up.
Hello, good morning. There's so much to rejoice about. First of all, I am traveling right now to see a friend. And so we had one moment where, out of miscommunication, things could have gotten a bit, emotional in a certain situation. And I rejoice for the ability to not have it gone that way for me and for my friend. It was a very safe space, and just to have that kind of person around me that I can talk about this kind of stuff without it going, taking things personally or having it, being able to just talk about the miscommunication. In that way was something that I was very grateful for, and in the past haven't always done that. So I'm also rejoicing in the ability to get better and better at it over time, and for also that to extend to the people around me, just to get better and better around that. And I rejoice in your listening to some of the music I do. Once I make music and it's out, it's not mine anymore. It's just out, and there's a very therapeutic process in releasing it. And so seeing it basically take different lives with whoever it is that hears it, and it's like a baby that's
Oh,
so it's these I don't go about it with expectations, so then it's really beautiful to see some of the seeds, I guess, grow in different ways from what I do. So very rejoicing in my community a lot right now.
good.
And
Good. Well,
the patience and love that lives around that.
Being able to have that conversation without it being acrimonious and helpful and healing for everybody, I think is a huge step. And by rejoicing in it, you're setting the seeds for that to continue in your life. So congratulations. That's a big step. Okay, Olga, you're up next.
Thank you, sir. I was in a meeting. I rejoice that the meeting was very well. We talked with donors for one project we are doing, and it was smooth and nice. So I rejoice on that.
That's not always the case. So rejoicing in it sets the karma for you to have continued success in those kind of meetings. One thing I learned, I was on the board of directors for Diamond Mountain for many years. And one thing I learned about meetings like that, you express your opinion. There's nothing wrong, as being a Buddhist, there's nothing wrong with having an opinion. It's when you try and make people understand what you're saying, that gets you in my opinion, gets you into trouble. So state your opinion, answer questions about your opinion. Don't take it personally if they don't agree with you, and leave it at that. If you can learn to do that, it's not that they're going to agree with you all the time. They probably won't. But you've done your job, which was to state your opinion. So, and the other thing I learned, and I think is very important, when you're critiquing something, always start out with a positive. So you were at a teaching, and there were some errors with the technology. So instead of saying the teaching was terrible because the technology broke down, you say, you know, the teaching was really wonderful. I learned a lot. I did have trouble with, and then you say something about the technology problem, the glitch. But I was asked my opinion early on my stay at Diamond Mountain. I was asked my opinion about a teaching, and I started out with saying, well, this, and this went wrong. And the people I gave the critique to didn't read the whole thing before they got upset. Because at the bottom, I said, overall, it was wonderful. They got very upset with me and said I ruined the teaching for them because I'd complained. Well, they asked me my opinion. I gave it to them, but I should have started with the nice part, not the bad. If you ask my opinion, I feel you want my opinion. So don't ask my opinion and then get upset that I gave it to you. So, okay, one quiz question, and I'm not going to ask any individual. Let's see if you guys can do this. What are the 9 stages of meditation that we went through? Now, everybody's trying to answer at once. I'll give you a hint. The first one's put the mind on the object. Layla? Nobody? Okay, here's the answer. Put the mind on the objects, number 1.
Sorry.
Put the mind on the object in a stream. So now you're...
My internet went off. Back
Okay.
in.
Well, I'll just go through them. So you put the mind on the object. Then you put the mind on the object in a stream. You're starting to spend a little more time on the object, but you're still getting off the object. Stage 3, it's better. You have more time on the object, but you're still coming off the object. Number 4, place the mind closely on the object. Now you're spending more time on the object than off of it, and bringing the mind under control, making the mind calm. You're fighting dullness and agitation. Make the mind totally calm. You've conquered dullness and agitation. Bring the mind to one-pointedness. Now you're on the object completely. Dullness and agitation are not a problem, and you can use it as a tool to place the mind in deep meditation and go after what we're trying to do, is realize the direct perception of emptiness. So all of that's a lot of words. The only way you can really get into that is going through the stages carefully in meditation. And that's what we're doing in the Lam Rim. After the first class on the Lam Rim, first course of Lam Rim, the second course is going to be focused on developing our meditative skills. So, what do we meditate about? You can meditate about pretty much anything you want. And we often meditate and not know that we're doing it. When you stop and think about solving a problem in school, you're in class and someone asks you to solve a math problem, you focus your mind on the problem and you come up with a solution. So we all meditate. It's just that we don't give ourselves credit for it. So in the Buddhist practice, we have three basic types of meditation. There's something called jokgong, or putting the mind on an object. In this case, we could use a Buddha image as the object. This is what most people think of as meditation. Then there's a review meditation, or shargong. The review meditation is going along certain steps of an outline with one point in mind. So you know the steps of the source of all my good, and you'd sit there and you, with your eyes closed, thinking, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. Then you go backwards, you say step 3, step 2, step 1. So you're going over and over the list. You could do the 3 sufferings: the suffering, the suffering of change, and the suffering, pervasive suffering. You'd sit there and think about what's the suffering of suffering, then what's the suffering of change, and then the pervasive suffering, and then go backwards. So you're going backwards and forwards. Geshe Michael likens this to doing scales on a piano. He spent hours and hours doing scales on the sitar before he was allowed to try to do any melodies. The last one is called Chegom, or analytical meditation. This is where you're basically debating a concept in your mind. So it's like reviewing the proofs of emptiness, or debating with someone what the 3 sufferings are. So those are the 3 general types. We're going to use the source of all my good as the object of meditation for about 6 months. The source of all my good is one of my most favorite things to talk about and to teach. And I do have a really nice weekend teaching on the source of all my good, which I would love to be able to give to all of you if you're so interested. It takes a class Friday night, then there are 3 classes on Saturday, and there's 1 final class on Sunday. I really enjoy giving it, and I think it's very productive and useful for my students. So if you're interested, let Claire know, and we'll see if we can arrange a weekend. Okay, the source of all my good is the short title for He Who is the Source of All Good Qualities by Tsongkhapa. It contains all the stages necessary for attainment of enlightenment, so it is a complete path. The first Lam Rim was spoken by Lord Buddha. The source of all my good is the shortest Lam Rim in Buddhism. Lam Rim means steps on the path. Steps on the path to what? Steps on the path to enlightenment. And in our case, as Mahayana practitioners, it's steps on the path to total enlightenment. To be a Lam Rim, this must contain information found in the 5 great topics of the open teachings. So there are 5 great books or topics that are taught. The first one's the perfection of wisdom, which in Sanskrit is the prajna paramita. The second one is the middle way, which is on Sanskrit madhyamaka. The third one is vowed morality, which is called Vinaya. The fourth book is the book of treasure house of higher knowledge, Abhidharma. And the fifth book, Buddhist logic and perception, or Pramana. These teachings include the four great topics of Indian Buddhism and represent all Buddhist knowledge, except for the secret teachings. Numbers 3 and 4 comprise the Hinayana practice, or the Theravadan practice, which are held in Thailand and a few other places, but mainly Thailand. Numbers 1, 2, and 5 are Mahayana only. None of these texts can hold the complete Lam Rim. So they need to, parts of each one have to be taken to complete the Lam Rim. So this Lam Rim has four great divisions. The first part is the root of the path, how to take a Lama and the lifetime behavior and relationship with them. Number 2 is how to practice and purify the mind after taking a Lama. Number 3 is a request for help in the practice. And number 4 is a prayer to meet Lamas and to achieve goals. So what I'd like to do now is have you get comfortable and where you can listen. Try not to move. You're not meditating. I'm giving you what's called the lung, the transmission of the source of all my good. So close your eyes, get comfortable. The source of all my good, Jezon Kapa, 1357-1419. The source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Bless me first to see that taking myself to him in the proper way is the very root of the path. And grant me then to serve and follow him with all my strength and reverence. Bless me first to realize that the excellent life of leisure that I've found just this once is ever so hard to find and ever so valuable. Grant me then to wish and never stop to wish that I could take its essence night and day. My body and the life in it are as fleeting as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. Bless me first thus to recall the death that will destroy me soon, and help me find sure knowledge that after I have died, the things that I have done, the white or black, and what these deeds will bring to me, follow always close behind, as certain as my shadow. Grant me then ever to be careful to stop the slightest wrong of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out each and every good of the many that we may. Bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom. Grant that these pure thoughts may lead me to be watchful and to recall what I should be doing. Grant me to give the greatest care to make the vows of morality the essence of my practice. They are the root of the Buddhist teachings. I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, everyone my own mother, has fallen into. Grant me then to practice the highest wish for enlightenment, to take upon myself the task of freeing them all. Bless me to see clearly that the wish itself is not enough, for I'm not well trained in the three moralities. I cannot become a Buddha. Grant me then a fierce resolve to master the vows for children of the victors. Grant that I may quickly gain the path where quietude and insight join together, one which quiets my mind from being distracted to wrong objects, the other which analyzes the perfect meaning in the correct way. Grant that once I practice well the paths shared and become a vessel that is worthy, I enter with perfect ease the way of the diamond, highest of all ways, holiest door to come inside for the fortunate and good. Bless me to know with genuine certainty that when I've entered thus, the cause that gives me both the attainments is keeping my pledges and vows most pure. Grant that I may always keep them, even at the cost of my life. Bless me next to realize precisely the crucial points of both the stages, the essence of the secret ways. Grant me then to practice as the holy ones have spoken, putting all my effort in and never leaving off the practice of the 4 times highest that there is. Bless me, grant me, as the spiritual guide who shows me this good road, and all my true companions in this quest, live long and fruitful lives. Bless and grant me that the rain of obstacles and things within me or outside me that could stop me now, stop in him forever. In all my lives, may I never live apart from my perfect Lama. May I bask in the glory of the Dharma. May I fulfill perfectly every good quality of every level and path, and reach then quickly the place where I become myself, the one who holds the diamond. Okay. That's just possibly one of the sweetest things I've read in my Buddhist practice. And that the meditation, the weekend meditation course is really very sweet. Okay. When the text says, bless me, it means to change my Dharma attitude or ability to learn. And that's what the source of all my good does for me. The main way to please a Lama is to put into practice what they teach. This is the highest offering you can make. So finding something like the source of all my good or the 3 principal paths, which is another Lam Rim, and studying it carefully. It's just full of important points. And I find I recite verses of it throughout the day. So I really encourage you to study this particular Lam Rim carefully. In begging for blessings, we're begging for the ability to take the teaching and actually start living it. As you read and study the source of all my good, really try to work on each item of the path, because you will soon start to think, oh, I've heard this before, and not take it to heart. Yes, you've heard it before because you're studying Buddhist philosophy. And yes, it's a summary of the philosophy. But I think you'll find, if you study it carefully, that as you read through each of the verses, things will pop into your mind about what you're supposed to be doing and why you're supposed to be doing it and how you're supposed to be doing it. That's, it's a companion. It's in my mind. It's hard to describe. I actually think of the source of all my good pretty much as a good friend that I can rely on to help me in difficult situations. Whenever you catch yourself thinking you've heard this all before, stop and realize the reason it's repeated is because that's one of the ways they teach material in Tibet, in the monastery. You hear it from the teacher, step 1. You take it home and think about it, step 2. And step 3, you meditate on it. That's why Geshe Michael had the homeworks and quizzes and final. And I'm not doing that now because, well, I'm not doing that in the Lam Rim, but I really encourage you to do the homeworks and quizzes. The homeworks pull the important things out of the teaching. The quizzes pull what he really thought was important. And then the quizzes serve as the basis for the final. So even if you don't do the homework to turn them in, I would suggest going through the questions anyway. Did I send everybody the compilation of the notes, Claire? I did, didn't I? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I sent.
Unfortunately, they're in English, so they don't help you Russian speakers very much. But there's something for you to do, Claire, in your spare time.
Yeah,
It's
I remember.
something
Yeah,
to
I
do.
will collect.
I'm
Russian.
kidding. You've got more than enough to translate. Okay. The root of the path. Divisions 1 and 2 are part of all Lamrim writing. So the root of the path is division 1, taking a Lama. And that has 2 parts to it, developing faith and developing reverence. So developing faith, how to think about your teacher. So that begs the question, who can be a Lama? Some say you need to do a 3-year, 3-month, 3-day retreat to be called a Lama. Okay, I've done that. Others say your root Lama tells you when you can call yourself a Lama. No, that hasn't happened. Others say it is up to your students. It's a title. It's not self-existent. Some people say you need to wear robes to be a teacher. Others don't. The important thing is not to confuse the message with the messenger, or the messenger with the message. So whether you consider me to be your Lama or your teacher, it's up to you. My telling people to call me Lama isn't the reason they're calling me Lama. They're calling me Lama because they respect what I have to say and are interested in how I teach. So there are 10 qualities of a Lama, someone you should trust with your spirits and mind. The first one, practicing the 10 moralities. You should see that your teacher practices the 10 moralities, not killing, stealing, or involved in sexual misconduct, not lying, slandering, harsh words, idle gossip, or creating ill will. Number 2, having mastered concentration. Number 3, having mastered wisdom, understanding or perceiving emptiness. Number 4, knowing more than the student. Number 5, willing to make great efforts on behalf of the students. Number 6, understand the scriptures perfectly. Should have perceived emptiness or directly or come close to it. Is a skillful teacher. Should love their students. Doesn't tire of teaching the same thing again and again. I often say to students, the only stupid question is the one you don't ask. Now, if you ask me the same question 3 or 4 times, I might say, well, Cornelia, what part of my answer don't you understand? But I'll never say that's a dumb question, because I've been in a situation where I've asked dumb questions, and it's very sweet to have a teacher go, well, that's a nice question, versus saying, God, you're an idiot. So the other thing I find very important in teaching is that you have to, if a student doesn't understand what I'm talking about, I have to approach it from a different angle instead of just repeating what I've said, which is basically implying, I say it again, what don't you understand? Versus trying to go from a different tact. And that can take time. The other thing that I think would be an important 11th criteria for a teacher would be the ability to say, I don't know. I'll look it up for you. I think that's really very important, because what would mortify me is if I make something up, and because I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm talking about, and then have someone in the audience go, well, actually, that's completely wrong. Versus saying, I don't have the answer to that. I will get back to you with the answer. That's a really important part. And as a student, you need to respect the fact that they've said they don't know, and they'll find out. Jason Kappa says that teachers should at least have these 5 qualities: controls self with morality, concentration, and wisdom, has perceived emptiness directly or intellectually, and loves their students. Another list of the minimum 5 qualities. In the great division between worldly and Dharma attitude, they should be devoted mainly to the Dharma. In the division between life and this life and future lives, they're working mainly toward future lives. Number 3, they should take care of others before themselves. Number 4, they're not careless in their physical, verbal, or mental actions. And number 5, they don't teach their students the wrong path. So the second part of taking a Lama is to developing reverence to them. This is a little touchy because I'm up here teaching. So to apply me, if you see me as your Lama, you can apply this to me or to your actual Lama. There are different levels of how to pay homage to your Lama. You can offer them, that he or she, gifts, material things. You can give yourself up to them in service. You take what we teach you and put it into practice, and thereby accomplishing your spiritual goals. The root text here says that we must take ourselves to our Lama in a number of ways, in keeping with our personal and mental capacity. For me, for Diamond Mountain, that meant building for Geshe Michael what he and Lama Christie wanted as a retreat center. Now, I'm not an engineer. I wanted to be an engineer for a long time, but calculus and I didn't get along, and I decided I didn't want to drive on a bridge that I designed, so I decided not to be an engineer. That's supposed to make you laugh. I guess it didn't go over the way I thought it would. So you serve your lamas. You can serve by working as an ACI volunteer. You can serve your lama by helping their projects. There's so many different ways to serve that sometimes you can get, well, sometimes you have an opinion on the service of someone's doing something and you wish you were doing it instead. And you do the best you can. The greatest service any student of mine can give is studying the Dharma. If I know that you're taking the courses, if I know you're working hard on your mental affliction, then you're serving. You're serving me because you're learning the Dharma. So it's the kind of thing you can do from remote. You don't have to be in the presence. One thing I need to be careful of is when I ask. For instance, I was just teasing Claire that I wanted her to translate the student notes. I'm kidding. You don't have to translate the student notes. I'm serious. I don't want you to do that yet. So there's an analogy that your Lama is here to lead the blind. Blind in the sense that you are interested in the Dharma, you don't know. There's so much Dharma to learn, so much, that you have to be careful not to, I don't want to say waste your time. You need to focus on the things that are going to bring you the most benefit the fastest. And to me, that's the Lam Rim. This, I just really emphasize the source of all my good is such a complete tool because it contains so much information. And the more you memorize it and you study it as you're studying the rest of the Dharma, you'll see just how packed full of information and advice the source of all my good has. And it's a very easy, it really makes a difference for my meditation. Basically, the source of all my good, the way Geshe taught it to us, is a series of rooms in your imagination. And you do certain things in each of the rooms that reflect what that particular stanza is about. So I can visualize very simply in my meditations, and that made it very simple to go through and really put into context what I was being taught. If our service of our Lama is good, then in all our future lives, we'll find ourselves taken under the care of Lamas. So what I'd like to do now is have you get comfortable. We're going to do a little rejoicing meditation that I found to be quite fun. I haven't done it in a while, so it'll be fun to do it with you. Okay, get comfortable. Now, we aren't doing the preliminaries because we aren't. So this is more a contemplation than a meditation. But let's go through the preliminaries just quickly. So, with my body, speech, and mind, humbly I prostrate. I make offerings both set out and imagined. I confess my wrong deeds from all time. And rejoice in the virtues of all. Please stay until samsara ceases and turn the wheel of Dharma for us. I dedicate all virtues to the great enlightenment. Now I want you to go back in your childhood to your first teacher. I vaguely remember my kindergarten teacher, but my first recollection is Mrs. Reed in first grade. Warm, really joyful, happy person. I enjoyed her classes. Second grade was Mrs. Douglas. Not quite as warm as Mrs. Reed, but still very friendly. Third grade, I was in England for a year with my family. And I went to school at Moss Hall in West Finchley, London. Mrs. Davis was one of my teachers. Then we got back, and my fourth grade teacher was Mrs. Lauriston. She did something that was actually very beneficial for me. In the fourth grade in the city I grew up in, they evaluated students to see if there were some really smart ones that could benefit from accelerated learning. And apparently I was smart enough, but Mrs. Lauriston made the point to my mom and dad that I lacked the maturity to go to that type of teaching. It would be better for me to stay with the rest of the students. I didn't know that till many years later, but I think that was very important for my upbringing, my self-confidence. Next was Mrs. Daniels. I remember Mrs. Daniels fondly because we could often get her to tell us stories instead of teach. We'd ask her a question about her life, and she'd start a story, and that would last for 15, 20 minutes, and then class would be over. Very elegant lady. Then there was Mrs. Wood, Mr. Head, the first male teacher I had. In junior high. I don't remember specific teachers in junior high very well. High school. I had a math teacher when we went to Australia for a year. I had a math teacher that sent me correspondence courses so I could keep up with the teaching, the way they were teaching math at my high school. She really went out of her way to do that for me. I got to college, and I had one teacher, Dr. David Pratt, who taught me Biosciences 1 and instilled in me the desire to be a plant biochemist and to teach. I'm going through my other teachers in college. Boy, I can't think of any other than Dr. Pratt. Then when I went to grad school, I had Dr. Robert Burris, a very famous scientist. And I remember him fondly because the topic I wanted to study in his lab was not the sexiest or most important project on the planet, but it was a little bit of information that I found very intriguing. And I didn't know until just before my doctoral dissertation that the question I was studying, the synthesis of a particular compound in soybean plants, was a topic my father, who was a well-known biochemist, had been working on for years. It was a small part of one of his projects. And after grad school, I had several employers, bosses that I really appreciated what they taught me. Dr. O'Leary, Dr. Jensen, my lovely wife's parents were teachers for me. My parents were teachers for me. So before we end the meditation, think of how these individuals formed your life, your attitude, your social awareness, your behavioral patterns. And I leave you with this thought. See everyone as your teacher. See everyone trying to illustrate for you what you're trying to learn in the Dharma. That barking dog that's annoying you because you're trying to meditate. Where'd they come from? What are they trying to teach you? That person that lets you go ahead of them in line at the grocery store because it looks like you're in a hurry. I submit they're all teaching you something. And rejoice in that fact that you have that attitude. Okay, you can open your eyes. I find that to be a very almost emotional, because I stop and I think how they had profound impact on my life. Now, one name I didn't mention, well, two names, Geshe Michael and Lama Christie. That's another topic. I also see my lovely wife as one of my teachers. So I think if you're struggling for a meditation topic one morning, that's a really lovely one to use. And you can obviously take it anywhere you want. It's with you all the time. I need to go back. I don't know if they do this in Europe or in Russia. We have what we call annuals. So my junior year in high school, I got a book with all the pictures of my classmates and goofy stuff we did. We call those high school yearbooks or annuals. And I have those, and I know where they are. I need to go back and check some of the names of my teachers. Okay. So you're supposed to memorize the first verse of Source of All My Good, and please try. It's really worth it. The source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Boy. Okay. Thank you for coming to class. The class seems to be getting smaller, but I appreciate you coming. Yeah, that's about it. Okay. See you, what's today, Thursday? See you on Monday, and we'll continue on the source of all my good. Have a good weekend. Have a great weekend. Katerina, what's what's your daughter's name? Maria. How old is she?
8.
8. Oh my God. She's not dating yet, is she? I'm being silly.
But she fell in love for the first time.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.